I would also note that Brazil, until this last year, when, for I think painfully obvious reasons, there was some slippage, had succeeded in reducing its annual rate of destruction of the rainforest by about 75%. As far as I know, nobody else has done that. And now you're dealing with the fact that the economy's back up, the demand for cattle is back up. It's a hard question. But 2 years ago, I came here to meet with a group of the ethanol producers, and I never thought I'd see this. They said, we ask you down here to help us find how we can stop the acceleration of rainforest destruction. I said, you can't grow sugarcane on rainforest land. There's no topsoil. And they said, yes, but because we're so good at this, we need more of the deep farmland, so we're pushing the cattle and the soybeans into the rainforest, and it's going to be disastrous. Why do I say that? Because at least the right questions are being asked. There's an honest attempt to get the right answer. And the whole rest of the world is heavily dependent on your getting the right answer, since 20% of the world's oxygen that comes from non-ocean sources comes from the Amazon rainforest. So it's an honor, I think, and appropriate for the C40 to be taking this next step under Mayor Bloomberg in Brazil, where the whole nation is aware of the wealth of its resources, the joys of its newfound prosperity, and the enormous responsibility of building a sustainable future. So let me just say one or two other things. One of the biggest problems we have in all these energy projects is working the financing out. Part of it is because some of them look expensive because they incorporate all the cost of the project. And all along, we've been building coal-fired plants, nuclear plants, and other things that do not incorporate the external costs imposed on society and on the economy. In the United States 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, I guess now, the Congress passed a bill the President signed which said the U.S. government would have to insure any new nuclear power plants because no one would insure them. We build coal-fired power plants and allow them to be paid off over 20 years with no burden on the externality of the cost of air pollution and asthma and other problems. But almost every one of these projects has a payout of less than 20 years, which in the United States anyway is what you get to pay for a coal-fired power plant. Many of the retrofits pay out in 2, 3, 4 years. When the Empire State Building was done in our home of New York City, it became the oldest big building in the world to get a LEED rating, and because they could self-finance, they have a guaranteed 38% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions that will be paid off in 4.5 years. Even if they had a bank loan, it would be 7 years. So this World Bank announcement is terrifically important because not just tapping the World Bank's resources, but because it will give credibility to these projects to get more private capital. And almost without exception, these projects will pay out in somewhere between 2 and 17 years. I hope that will encourage many of the cities in the C40 who have been relatively less active because they haven't had the means to organize financing these projects to do more. We need you all. The other thing I would like to say is you're going to be well led by Mayor Bloomberg because he believes in keeping score. And I believe in keeping score. Everything my foundation does is about keeping score. If what we're doing is not working, we admit we failed and we start and do something else. This is very, very important. And I'll just give you one example that I hope will take hold. We have some good projects now underway in dealing with landfills. Landfills and animal waste are the largest causes of greenhouse gas emissions from methane. The volume of methane emissions into the air is far smaller than carbon, but it's 23 times more powerful as a greenhouse gas emission. Sometime in the last couple of months, there was a serious environmental study released which said the world could push back for 20 years the most destructive consequences of climate change and give us 20 more years to figure out what to do with carbon if we could make a dramatic reduction in methane and black carbon, which is largely caused by the burning of charcoal and wood for food and the flaring of natural gas. If we could close every landfill in every big city in the world, recycle the organics for fertilizer, or just put it back into the land to build up the carbon content of the land, as Mr. Zellick likes to talk about, and recycle the plastic, the metal, the glass, putting poor people in cities all over the world to work as recycling employees, and then capture the methane as a power source. You would solve a public health problem. You would give massive amounts of land back to cities. You would put huge numbers of people back to work. The financing has not been available for these things because they are looked at as eyesores, not gold mines. And this World Bank partnership, plus Mayor Bloomberg's insistence on building up capacity and scorekeeping, I think may give us a chance to do something truly historic here. If we could get the rural people of the world and the urban people in the poorest countries to move off charcoal and wood into more sustainable cooking and close every big landfill and manage the trash, just think of it. We would give our children 20 more years to resolve some of these very difficult problems in our urban and rural areas related to climate change. So I'm honored to be working here. I feel better about the future of the C40 than I did when we started. I think a lot of wonderful things have been done across the world. And I think that this merger where we are putting our resources to work in the C40 under Mayor Bloomberg's leadership and the partnership with the World Bank, giving us a chance to actually finance things that by any rational analysis have always been good economics, but have never had a system to support them, are cause for great celebration today. I wish you well, and I ask you to keep at it. Our children and our grandchildren are depending on you. Thank you very much.